Hi there, welcome to this short video about Nurture, postnatal depression support services. My name is Irene Lowry and I'm CEO of Nurture. Nurture was founded in Ireland in 2011 by Lily McGowan and myself to help support mothers and families battling postnatal depression by offering affordable counselling services and support. Did you know that there's 12,000 mothers in Ireland today battling postnatal depression? It's 11% worldwide and it is a hugely stigmatised illness and taboo. Most mothers will not talk about their experience battling postnatal depression. We think ourselves it's because they feel they're a failure. It's supposed to be the most joyous occasion of their lives. They miss out on that and they really don't know what's happening to them and they can't cope. A lot of mothers would consider suicide, but in the extreme cases there are mothers who have died through suicide, unfortunately. Yes, it depends on when you get some help. In the beginning, it can be baby blues for the first 10 days. And then after that, if you're feeling unwell or you're not coping or crying all the time, then that is leading into postnatal depression. The longer you have postnatal depression, unfortunately, the more difficult it is to get well and to remain well. We would suggest to mothers that they should go and seek help, professional help from a GP. The GP will then know what level they are at with postnatal depression and how they're battling with it on a day-to-day basis, and then seek talk therapy, affordable counselling, or contact our charity Nurture.
Welcome, Jessica.
Hi.
I'm going to ask you some questions about your pregnancy and your experiences. How did you feel when you first discovered you were pregnant?
I was absolutely thrilled to find out that I was pregnant, over the moon. I felt really, really grateful because we'd been a year or so trying to have a baby. So it was shock, disbelief, and just absolutely thrilled, so excited. And I wanted the 9 months to just fly by.
Had you ever been pregnant before?
I had, yes, 3 months before I conceived my daughter. I'd had a miscarriage quite early in the pregnancy. But it made me extremely worried throughout the whole of the pregnancy on my baby.
But you didn't suffer from any kind of depression after the miscarriage?
No.
Okay. And how was the pregnancy for you?
The pregnancy on a whole, I was healthy throughout it, but sick, so sick. Nausea 24/7, a lot of vomiting, but mainly just constant nausea. My appetite went. Between 6 and 9 weeks, I lost 3/4 of a stone, which I never really put back on throughout the pregnancy. I love my food. I couldn't eat for the whole time and I worked full time as well. So it was a pretty tough pregnancy.
And how was the pregnancy in general for you?
I had morning sickness up till 10, 12 weeks, but other than that, no, I was great.
So you had no suspicion of anything?
No, I wasn't down or anything like that. I did have trouble sleeping, but that was just the bigger you get, the more uncomfortable you are, you know.
Birth itself was very, very quick. She was 2 weeks early and it was a really, really, it was exciting, but it was a lot to kind of take in. I had no time to prepare. I hadn't even gone on maternity leave because she came early. A few little complications, but after, she was born, they kept us in for a couple of days, which added a little bit of stress. But overall, it was quite a good experience and something I'm looking forward to doing again.
And when the baby was born, how did you cope when you first came home?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The first week was great. He's very good, and he was even in the beginning. So we coped very well.
And so when did you realise first that something was not right?
Well, a week into it, actually, I started to crying and I just thought, it's a bit of the baby blues, I'm just tired. And with that then, it just escalated to, 6 weeks later, I'm still crying and not feeling great.
I'm just going to ask you some questions about what your experience was of postpartum psychosis.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about when you noticed that this started for you?
I would say for me, it came on almost immediately after the birth. I'd had a really straightforward pregnancy. and I had a straightforward labour. But the day I came home from hospital, I just knew that I didn't feel like the same person who'd gone in to have that baby. I was a little bit unsure at first. It was my first baby, but I could kind of feel myself slipping away.
So you knew something wasn't right, but you weren't sure how you were supposed to feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I just felt like I was kind of disappearing from the life I was in. That would be a good way of describing it. And as the days went on, it just got worse and worse.
At the start, it was just the crying, and then I'd be looking at the baby saying, oh, I love him so much, why am I crying? So that'd make me worse, feeling guilty, that I didn't know why I was crying, you just tiredness, I think, as well, and just feeling guilty that I should be, ecstatic, and I'm not, I'm just crying.
It felt a bit overwhelming to bring the baby home at first. You kind of wonder who's this little person that's appeared in your home. But then once you kind of have your little Moses basket set up, and it's very exciting to bring her home, and it kind of feels as if your baby's always been there. Once you're home a couple of hours, it's like, you kind of get into the swing of things, and it felt great.
And did you have a really good support system at home?
I did. Very, very lucky that I had such good family and friends. They did a lot of the practical things, which are things a lot of people don't think about. They did the cleaning, dropping food over, letting me go up to bed for a couple of hours.
I'm grand with the baby, I can cope with the baby, but it was everything else around me, the housework, or, even doing the doctor's homework with her, I couldn't concentrate, and I wouldn't be able for anything else but the baby, the day by day, bottles feeding and changing, it just got harder.
Did you find it was affecting your relationship with your daughter and with your husband?
God, now how do I answer that? I did in myself, because I'm very hard on myself anyways, and I was always hands-on with everything, super mum, doing everything. But yeah, in a way I thought it did, because I hadn't got the dinner ready when they'd come in, or it'd be all about the baby.
I couldn't sleep at all. I couldn't sit. I couldn't be quiet. It was as if someone had just trapped me in this sort of raging environment in my head, almost as if it was just sort of banging like that in my head the whole time. And I just felt like I was kind of descending into some kind of hell. I think that, women who have postpartum psychosis, they are almost in a false reality. Often women have hallucinations and delusions, and it does come on very, very quickly, so it's incredibly frightening. With me, I just felt my life slipping away, and by about day 7, I remember I literally ran down the road screaming, and I went to the local church, and it was just before evensong, and I walked in. I'd never met this lady before, and I just said, I think I'm going mad. You need to help me. And at the time, that seemed a very normal thing for me to do, because I had started to think things like maybe I was dead, maybe I was in hell. But looking back now, it was quite extreme behaviour.
And at what point did you get help? What was it that helped you to get help?
I did go to my GP when Ryan was having his 2-week checkup, because I was suffering from anxiety more so then, and I wasn't sleeping. So he put me on like a calmer to calm me down, and that didn't work. So 6 weeks checkup, I went back to him, and he put me on an antidepressant, but that just made me sick, and I couldn't literally do anything on it. So I came off that, and I rang my health nurse at 8 weeks, and she came out to me, and she gave me, it was actually a questionnaire, and I knew something wasn't right, and she asked me the questions, and she said, yeah, you do have postnatal depression. And with that, then I broke down. I knew I had it, but to be told, yeah, you have it.
And once life sort of gets back to normal and you're with your baby on your own more, how did you find you were coping then?
It was difficult at the start. When her dad went back to work, it was a little bit tough. You're worried, how will you cope? But you've no choice. The lack of sleep is tough, so you just muddle your way through, and eventually you find a little bit of a rhythm and a routine, and that's when it becomes a lot easier.
I just felt that there was a massive barrier there, that I couldn't get to her, that she was there and I was here, and something was drawing us apart. I was very fortunate. I still felt love for her. Some women, they have sort of delusional thoughts about their children. I didn't. I still felt some kind of bond, but it was almost like she was slipping away from me and I couldn't reach her. She was getting further and further away because I was descending into hell and she was still there, if you can understand that.
I do, but when you say descending into hell, can you describe a little bit more about how you felt?
I just felt absolutely terrified. I couldn't tell you. It was a fear I cannot describe. I felt like everything that was normal in my life had left me, and I was just surrounded by almost feelings of darkness, feelings about death. I was fixated on death and hell, and it was almost as if I could imagine that some kind of demon was going to walk through the door and sort of suck me away.
What would you say during this time has been the thing that's helped you the most?
Oh, the counselling, definitely. When the health nurse referred me for counselling, I thought, how could counselling help something like this? You know, I know it sounds wrong, but I was like, I'm not mad, I don't need counselling, because I didn't understand anything about it. I've never had depression before or anything like that, so I just didn't understand. But no, the counselling helped. Talking, like I talked to my friends, I talked to my mum, I talked to the husband, I talked to anyone who listened, basically. The thing is not to hide it. You have to talk about it, because once you get whatever you're thinking out, it's gone. You know how to deal with it.
And when you did start speaking about it, what did you notice? To your friends and your family?
That, like, most of them had gone through it and I never knew. Like, say 7 friends, out of that 7, I'd say 5 had it. Or 6 even. They all went through their own little bit.
And how are you coping now?
Great, totally different now. I think once we passed the 6 to 8 week mark, a lot of things changed. You kind of find your rhythm. She discovered night was, nighttime and not daytime. So she was sleeping as we were sleeping and things like that. So much, much better now and having a lot of fun with her. She's full of smiles and laughs and giggles.
What was it that helped you to get better?
I got to a stage when my baby was about 6 months old and I thought that this was the end of my life, that things were never going to get any better. I would get hysterical and nothing would lift it, nothing. And I had been told that I should be in inpatient care, but they didn't really know what to do with me. And at that time, I think I thought to myself, I can't live like this. I can't. And I remember my mother saying to me that sometimes I would push the baby to the post box and post a letter. That was about as much as I could ever really do, unsupervised. And I lived opposite the Manchester Ship Canal at that time. And she used to watch me from the door because she thought I was going to walk off and push us both into the canal. And I couldn't see an end to it. And a friend of mine contacted an organisation such as Nurture. It was an organisation in the UK and it was called the Association for Postnatal Illness. And I hadn't been able to interact with these organisations myself because I was too ill. And a lady wrote to me and she was called Christine, and I remember it quite clearly. And I got this letter and I'd never met this lady. And she said to me, I was in Manchester Wythenshawe Mother and Baby Unit. And this was like a revelation to me, because although I only lived about 25 miles away from this unit, I was in a different medical trust and my team had not investigated this option for me, even though they said I should be in inpatient care. Within 2 days, I'd been referred to this hospital by my psychiatrist. I went to see the psychiatrist at the hospital and I was admitted the next day. And that was a turning point for me, and that saved my life.
Hi, my name is Lillian McGowan and I was involved in the setting up of Nurture in early 2011 with Irene Lowry. You could help Nurture to provide 8 weeks of counselling for one mother battling with the debilitating illness of postnatal depression.
Not only would your support help this mother, but it would provide the necessary supports to help improve the emotional well-being of both her baby and family. Finally, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and we hope that it has helped to raise your awareness about the serious illness of postnatal depression.